Teahouse Between Gentle Hours. The rain tapped softly against the windows of the quiet street outside, a rhythm gentle enough to feel like a lullaby. The world seemed to have paused, waiting in hushed expectation, the kind of stillness that only exists in the very early hours before anyone truly wakes. She walked slowly, her boots making only the slightest sound on the wet cobblestones, and she found herself before a small tea house, warm light spilling from its windows into the darkness. It was the kind of place that did not appear on maps, that only revealed itself to those who needed it most. The sign above the door swayed slightly in the breeze, a simple lantern hanging beside it, casting a golden glow that seemed to hum softly in the quiet night. She paused for a moment, breathing in the damp scent of rain, the faint aroma of tea drifting from the slightly open door, and felt an inexplicable pull to step inside. The moment she crossed the threshold, warmth enveloped her. It was subtle, not the kind of heat that shocks the skin, but a gentle embrace that seeped into her bones, comforting her from the inside out. The walls were lined with shelves of teapots and cups, each one different, some painted with tiny flowers, others etched with delicate patterns. Soft golden light pooled across the wooden floor, and every step she took seemed to sink slightly into the quiet comfort of the place. A faint bell chimed as she entered, announcing her presence, yet the air was so calm that the sound felt like a whisper, almost imperceptible. Behind the counter, a figure moved slowly, deliberately, hands cradling a steaming teapot as if it were a treasure. The figure's face was gentle and welcoming, eyes reflecting a depth of patience she had not known she needed to see. No words were exchanged immediately. The quiet spoke more than speech could. She moved toward a table by the window, where a soft cushion awaited. She settled onto it, feeling the warmth seep through her clothes, her body unwinding with each breath. The tea house smelled faintly of chamomile, cinnamon, and honey, mingling in a delicate harmony that felt like it had been waiting just for her. Outside, the rain continued to fall, each drop a soft percussion that matched the gentle pulse of her heartbeat. The teapot was placed in front of her, steam curling upward, shimmering in the golden light, like tiny, delicate clouds. She inhaled slowly, letting the warmth fill her chest and the aroma settle deep into her senses. She lifted the cup carefully, feeling its weight, the slight warmth of the ceramic against her hands, and took a gentle sip. The tea was mild, soothing, like a memory of quiet evenings long ago, untroubled and complete. She glanced around the tea house. Small details captured her attention. A chair with a blanket draped over it, a stack of folded napkins that smelled faintly of lavender, a tiny window ledge with a single candle flickering softly. Every object seemed to hold a quiet story, a purpose understood without explanation. The space felt alive in the most subtle way, as if it breathed with her, sharing a rhythm she had forgotten existed outside. Time moved differently here. Minutes did not rush. Seconds did not demand attention. She closed her eyes briefly and felt herself merging with the quiet, the gentle tap of rain, the warmth of tea in her hands, the soft golden light, the slow, patient presence of the tea house itself. In this space, nothing needed to be achieved, nothing needed to be understood. Everything simply existed in harmony. She allowed her thoughts to drift, unhurried and gentle. Memories of days past floated by, but they did not cling. She acknowledged them, gave them a small nod, and let them pass like the softest breeze across a calm lake. In this place, she felt the truth of something simple. Presence itself can be a gift, and noticing it, even for a few breaths, is enough. Outside, the rain continued its gentle rhythm, but it no longer felt separate from the tea house. It became part of the space, a quiet companion to the warmth, to the tea, to the slow unfolding of the night. The teapot steamed quietly, the golden light flickered softly, and she realized that patience, kindness, and calmness were not just abstract concepts. They were tangible, woven into the very fabric of this cozy little world. Her eyelids grew heavy, the warmth from the cup and the light, the steady rhythm of the rain, and the soft presence around her guiding her toward a deep, peaceful awareness. She felt herself slipping further into stillness, each breath carrying her gently into a place of quiet, safe, and gentle comfort. She rested her hands around the warm cup, feeling the heat seep gently into her fingers, and let her mind wander without direction. The tea house seemed to respond to her calm, each flicker of candlelight and swirl of steam harmonizing with the quiet rhythm of her breathing. Outside, the rain softened further, dropping in irregular, delicate taps, almost as if it had slowed to match her pace. She noticed a small shelf nearby, stacked with jars of dried herbs and spices. Their subtle aromas mixed into the air: peppermint, lavender, hints of roasted chestnut. She inhaled deeply, letting the scents wrap around her like a comforting blanket. In this place, even the smallest details felt intentional yet effortless, as if everything had been arranged not for notice, but for serenity itself. A soft murmur came from the other side of the room. Another guest, perhaps, though she did not see anyone clearly. The sound was gentle, unobtrusive, like a whisper carried on the breeze. She realized that in the tea house, even movement felt slowed, as though time itself had softened, allowing each step, each gesture, each breath to be fully felt. It was a sanctuary built not only of warmth and walls, but of the space between moments. She took another sip of tea, letting the mild sweetness linger. The warmth expanded slowly, not in a rush, filling her chest and easing her shoulders. She leaned back slightly on the cushion, noticing the soft texture of the fabric against her skin. Everything in the tea house invited lingering, from the worn wooden floorboards to the quiet hum of the heating hearth. There was no hurry here, no obligation to rise or speak, only the gentle invitation to exist fully. Her thoughts drifted to the concept of waiting. The tea house itself seemed to embody it. It had waited through countless nights, quietly offering its calm to anyone who arrived. Its presence was faithful, unassuming, and patient. She understood, in a soft, unspoken way, that the most meaningful things often do not demand attention. They simply remain, quietly supporting all who are willing to rest within their space. The candle on the windowsill flickered slightly, reflecting in the rain streaked glass. Outside, the world seemed distant and softened, obscured by water and shadow. Inside, every sound was muted to perfection. The clink of porcelain as a teapot was set down, the faint scratch of a pen as someone scribbled a note, the slow inhalation and exhalation of the air itself. Each sound was a gentle affirmation that life continued, softly and kindly. She let her eyes wander around the room, noting small things she had not seen before. A teacup with a chipped rim, a small ceramic cat perched on a shelf, books stacked in quiet towers, a rug fraying softly at its edges. These little imperfections were not flaws. They were reminders of time's passage and of the comfort in being unhurried. The tea house did not need perfection to be complete. It was complete simply by being, simply by existing as a haven. Outside, the rain began to form tiny patterns on the cobblestones, the water pooling and reflecting the dim lantern light. She imagined walking through the streets, feeling each ripple beneath her boots, yet she stayed seated, savoring the stillness. There was a quiet lesson here. The beauty of a place often lies in the choice to pause and witness it, rather than to rush toward any goal. She felt herself sinking deeper into this quiet awareness. Her thoughts softened into gentle repetition, like the ebb and flow of waves against a hidden shore. Memories of quiet evenings past surfaced, but they carried no weight. They were companions, passing alongside her as she breathed slowly, letting her mind float freely. Here, there was no need to analyze, no need to fix, no need to decide. She existed in the tea house, and that was enough. The light from the lanterns deepened, turning golden and soft, like sunlight diffused through mist. Steam rose from her cup, curling in slow spirals that seemed almost alive, reaching upward and fading as if in a silent dance. She watched it without needing to interpret, allowing the slow motion of the air to carry her attention, allowing herself to exist simply in the act of noticing. Her eyelids began to feel heavier, the warmth of the teacup and the golden glow mixing with the quiet rhythm of her breath. The tea house, steady and patient, held her in its gentle embrace. She realized that places like this exist not to be conquered or mastered, but to be received, to be entered with humility and quiet attentiveness. Their magic is not in spectacle, but in the calm they offer to those who come seeking nothing but presence. She let her head tilt slightly, resting against the cushion, listening to the faint symphony of sound. Rain, faint footsteps, the soft hiss of steam, the subtle creak of wood, the almost imperceptible heartbeat of the room. It was a music composed entirely of patience and gentleness. She let her hands rest on the table, the warmth of the teacup lingering through her fingers. The tea house was quiet, yet she could sense the gentle hum of life all around her, a rhythm she hadn't noticed before. The chairs and tables seemed to settle under the weight of their own existence, and the light from the lantern seemed to breathe along with her, pulsing softly in the silence. A faint draft stirred near the door, carrying the faint scent of wet earth and distant pine trees. She inhaled slowly, letting the aroma mingle with the sweetness of the tea and the subtle fragrance of the dried herbs on the shelves. Each breath became a small meditation, grounding her more deeply in the room, in the moment, in the gentle heartbeat of the tea house. She noticed a small book lying open on a nearby table. Its pages were blank, yet they did not feel empty. She imagined that they held the potential for anything, a soft story, a quiet memory, a whisper of a dream. She did not need to write anything. It was enough to see the possibility, to feel it exist without forcing it into being. The rain outside had grown softer, almost a whisper itself, sliding down the windows in thin, delicate streams. Each drop made a tiny, distinct sound as it touched the sill or the cobblestone beyond. She imagined the sound carrying over the town, touching unseen rooftops, tapping gently on chimneys, and weaving a quiet melody that was felt more than heard. It was a lullaby composed by the night and she felt herself entwined in its tender rhythm. Her gaze drifted to the corner of the tea house where a small kettle simmered quietly on a low flame. Its gentle hiss was steady, comforting, a subtle punctuation in the slow narrative of the evening. She imagined the water inside, heating gradually each molecule, moving in patient anticipation of the next, teaching her the quiet lesson that everything unfolds in its own time, and there is no need to rush. She sipped her tea again, noticing its warmth spread from her chest to her shoulders, down her arms, into her fingers. The sensation was slow, deliberate, comforting. She closed her eyes briefly, allowing the sound of the rain, the soft hum of the kettle, the whisper of lantern light, and the pulse of her own breath to merge into a single, gentle rhythm. Time seemed to stretch infinitely. She imagined the world outside the tea house continuing its usual pace. People hurrying, streets bustling, clocks ticking. Yet here, inside, the air moved with a different cadence. Every sound was muted, every movement slowed. It was as if the tea house existed outside ordinary time, a sanctuary where moments could expand, unfold, and breathe without pressure. She leaned back on her cushion, feeling its softness cradle her body. Her eyes wandered across the room once more, the shelves of cups, the lanterns flickering, the steam rising from her tea, the frost beginning to lace the windows. Each detail seemed to carry its own gentle weight, a silent invitation to notice, to linger, to rest. A small bell jingled softly as the door opened, though no one entered. Perhaps it was the wind. Perhaps it was only a trick of the night. She smiled softly to herself, accepting it as part of the quiet magic that surrounded her. The tea house had always existed for those who needed it, and it had opened just enough for her to arrive. No questions asked, no demands made. She felt her body becoming heavier, pleasantly so, as though gravity had slowed to match her heartbeat. Her thoughts had softened into gentle repetition. Breathe slowly, feel the warmth, notice the quiet, rest deeply. The tea house had not forced her to this state. It had only offered a place where it was possible, and she had accepted. The light in the lanterns flickered again, painting shadows softly across the walls. Shadows were no longer shapes to be noticed or named. They simply existed, moving subtly in harmony with the tea house, with the rain, with her. She realized the stillness is not emptiness, that quiet can hold everything needed for comfort, and that presence itself is a form of gentle grace. The tea had cooled slightly, yet the warmth remained within her, spreading slowly. Her eyelids grew heavier still, and the comfort of the cushion, the rhythm of the rain, and the soft hum of the tea house all began to lull her into the edges of sleep. Her mind floated on a slow current, untethered, unhurried, carrying nothing but the soft awareness of calm, safety, and belonging. Outside, the world continued, as it always did, but she existed in this quiet sanctuary. And in this place, she knew something simple and profound. Sometimes rest is the deepest form of presence, and in being still, the heart itself is renewed, ready for the gentle unfolding of life that awaits. She felt herself sinking fully into the cushion now, the warmth of her tea lingering in her chest, the faint scent of herbs surrounding her like a soft cloak. The tea house had grown even quieter, if that were possible, as though it too was waiting for something delicate to happen, the gentle crossing into stillness. Outside, the rain slowed to a near-silent drizzle, leaving tiny droplets clinging to the window panes. She watched them shimmer in the lantern light, each one a miniature universe of reflection and calm. It felt as if the world had slowed with her. Each moment expanded and softened into eternity. She did not need to rise. She did not need to speak. She did not need to think. She simply was. The tea house seemed to lean toward her, not physically, but in presence. Every detail, the wooden floor, the flickering light, the faint hum of warmth, invited her to rest, to let herself be carried. It whispered of patience, that waiting is not empty, that stillness is not idle, that simply being is enough. She traced the rim of her teacup with her finger, noticing how the warmth felt through the thin ceramic. A gentle steam curled up, touching her face briefly, soft and comforting. She realized that the simplest things, tea, warmth, quiet, can hold an entire universe if one pays attention. Each sip, each breath, each moment of quiet awareness was a reminder that small, gentle acts carry profound meaning. A subtle shadow moved across the room. Perhaps the lanterns flickered, or perhaps it was the soft presence of someone else who had come quietly. She did not look. She did not need to. Even in absence, there was connection. The tea house held everyone gently, without demand or expectation. Here she was never alone, even when she was fully herself. The tea had long since cooled, but a lingering warmth remained in her chest, a quiet reassurance that she was safe, she was noticed, she was held. The flicker of candlelight reflected softly in her closed eyes as she leaned back, allowing the gentle rhythm of her breath to synchronize with the calm heartbeat of the room. She thought of the hours outside this space, moments of waiting, of uncertainty, of noise and haste. They felt distant, almost unreal, compared to the deep calm she now experienced. And she understood, slowly and fully, that tranquility is a choice as much as a gift. It is something one can cultivate, slowly in gentle spaces like this, and carry outward into the world. The rain ceased entirely, leaving behind quiet freshness that seeped in through slightly open windows. The lanterns glowed steadily, no longer flickering, as if acknowledging her understanding. Stillness, patience, presence, and trust. These were the soft lessons of the tea house, whispered not in words, but in the very air that surrounded her. Her eyelids grew heavier, each blink slower than the last. The cushion cradled her, the warmth of the room held her, and the faint memory of the tea remained like a soft echo in her chest. She felt the gentle passage of time, aware of nothing and everything at once, suspended in a calm so complete it felt like a quiet lullaby sung by the world itself. She let her mind drift freely, letting the tea house, the rain, the light, and the gentle heartbeat of this cozy place carry her into sleep. And as her breathing deepened, she understood that in the waiting, in the stillness, in the quiet embrace of simple, gentle presence, the heart learns its most subtle lessons: patience, trust, and the quiet joy of being held. The tea house would remain, as it always had, as it always would, and she slept completely peacefully and without worry, carried by warmth, light, and the gentle whisper of a space that existed only to remind her that she was always safe, always welcome, and always enough.